Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's the Portulacaria Afra cutting experiment. First on the agenda, I had to get some cuttings. So about 2 months ago, the Minnesota Bonsai Society, a few of its members and myself, got together and recorded a little study group on PAs, and we talked about the pros and cons and how to take care of them and why we like them as bonsai. Some people don't like them as much. We're not going to debate that right here. We all like them. We all love them. And after that show, I cut mine to pieces. Yeah, I gave it quite a chop, right? So before and after shots here to show you. And I put it into a better lighting situation in my green space, my little greenhouse. And I've already got some leaves growing on there, so I can show you some of that too. But we had cuttings for them from that. I got cuttings from that, and I had to do something with them. I learned in the study group that besides just taking the trees and stuffing them into bonsai soil and just not watering them for a couple of weeks, or maybe leaving them on the tray to callus over a little bit, then putting them in soil and then watering them a couple weeks later, you know, with just maybe a little misting in between, one of the guys threw out the fact that you could just throw them in water and get some rooting that way. So I thought, let's give it a try. So here we go. Stage one, putting some bonsai cuttings of the PAs into some water in jars with saran wrap. Here we go. I've gathered some of my extra jars and I have some saran wrap, so I'm all set to get my cuttings, my Portulacaria Afra cuttings, and some water, and we're going to try to see if we can get some roots to grow the water method. We've got the pink purpley hue of the full spectrum grow light that's off about 2 feet higher than these PA cuttings. They're just sitting on this boot tray and they are getting a little bit more calloused over. I might have some of them that callus over. I put them in soil, but I'm going to put a big chunk of these into those jars and we're going to put them in 2 different spots. We're going to have some of the PA cuttings in water in the jars in my plant room, just the general area, on my workbench area. And then I'm going to put some of the cuttings in the jars in the new greenhouse area where it's a lot more moist and a little bit better lighting, closer lighting, more powerful lighting. And we're going to run a test and see which ones do better. We're looking for a lot of roots on these PAs for future plantings. I was able to get the saran wrap on this jar. Now mind you, there's no water in here yet and it was dry, so I think it's going to work. We're going to just wrap up the saran wrap and kind of secure it onto the glass, and then we're going to poke some holes in there and stick about 3 PA cuttings in each one, maybe 5 or 6. We'll see how big the opening is and we'll let them dangle in there in the water. So we need some water to fill up the jars. The jars are all filled with water. Let's saran wrap them and we'll get some PAs in there. The moment of truth. We've got all the jars wrapped. I've got my little scissors here that's going to poke some holes in there, and then we've got our cuttings right over here that we're going to place. So I've got some small cuttings and I've got some small jars, so I'm going to go ahead and do the small jars first, and I'm going to go ahead and make a little hole, hole, hole. There we go. Smaller mouth, I'll do 4 on that one. 5 on that one. There's one small one. And there's another relatively small one. Another one. Jar number 1. Well, there we have our first 3 jars with some PAs in there, and we'll set them off to the side and continue our work. So the trick is always to find the place for all my new experiments. So I have a nice small jar that I can place back here. And I have a jar that can be placed right there. It's getting light. I'm going to grab a couple of the bigger ones now. I'm going to put that one right there, that one right there. So we're getting some light from the grow lights. It's the lowest level. They are a good 2 feet from the light. That one's a little bit closer. We've got 4 here. We're going to put 4 underneath the lights in the green room now. So this will be a little bit more challenging in here, but we can always find nooks and crannies. That's a spot right there. I think if I put this one in there, right there, okay, we got a couple more. So I see a spot way in the back over here. No, it doesn't fit there. So I have to push this over a little bit. There we go. I can put it there. I think if I move my humidistat here, I can put another one here. We can put that right there. Right between my PAs that I just cut, I can put it right there. And this back one over here, the light's up here, that's a pretty good spot. We can let it go right there. So they are all are touching water. I might be able to add some water on the top to make it higher if we start to disintegrate a little bit. But we have our 5 jars of PA cuttings in water underneath the lights. We'll go ahead and close this back up. So we maintain the humidity. The experiment has begun. Today is December the 7th, 2020, and we will see what happens week by week, and we'll look for new growth of roots inside the jars with the PA. A new way to root for me. I've never done it before. You can enjoy the experiment along with me. An update will be in moments for you, but a week or 2 for me. With phase 1 done, it was just time to wait. So I had to wait. In about a month to the day from when I put those cuttings in the water, I took a peek, saw some roots, and I thought I would share the results with you. Most of the results were just done live on camera. I was opening them up, but I could see a couple of roots through the glass jars, and yeah, so it wasn't a complete surprise. But here we go. Here's part 2. A month after the cuttings were put into water, we're going to see how much roots grew in about 4 weeks. Though I've been keeping a close eye on my Portulacaria Afra cuttings that I put in water, I haven't looked at all the bottles, and I haven't looked terribly close. This is January the 8th of 2021, and I'm going to pull some of these out of there, and we're going to take a peek at what's happened with the root growth, if any. Again, I peeked at them. I do know there's some growth, and we're going to take a look at the 2 different categories. This category was up in my shelf area, where there's some par can lights with some grow lights that are a good foot plus off of where these were. And of course we got different size bottles. And then these 2 guys were left under the all spectrum, you know, with the purpley hue, the reds, blues, and whites. These 2 were left in there. So a little bit of an experiment here. And at first look, I don't know that I see any roots in that one. So these leaves look a little bit thinner. They were poked in, and there, I just couldn't see them. There they are, about a ½ an inch long, right there. We'll put that back in the water. We got about a ½ inch on that one. Good. I'm not going to pull them all out. These guys look a little bit thicker. There might even be little tiny leaves on this guy right here. I don't know if all those leaves were there. Maybe those little leaves were there. Oh, I just broke it right off. So it looks like we have some rot in here. Yep. So that's still alive. We got those little leaves there, but that's not going to work. So we're going to push that aside. Let's pull this one out. This one's not rotten, but let's take a peek. No roots forming on that one, but still seems strong and viable. We'll go ahead and put that back in the water. Here we go. There we got almost an inch of growth on that one. I probably should have something dark in the background, right? There we go. Some roots on that one. We can stick that back in. So we got a couple in that jar. This one doesn't look too terribly healthy. Looks kind of rotten on there. We'll just take that one out of there. How about this guy? A lot of leaves on here, a little thin looking. Ah, there we go. There's some roots right there. A whole bunch of them, a little bit more on that one, and about a quarter to a half inch in depth. Let's get this tall one back here, see what this guy's doing. Oh yeah, that's got some growth on there too. Yeah, all right. Let's put him back in the water. So not too bad. I can see one little growth on that one. I'm just going to put that over here. This one is really tiny, skinny. This one might be just a done deal. Yeah, a little rotten on the bottom there. This one doesn't have much growth either, and then rotten on the bottom there. So this one is going to be one we're going to throw away. This one looks a little rough. These leaves are wilting away. I mean, it looks a little rotten down here. Yeah, I'm just going to throw that one out. Got this little itty bitty one, that's rotten. Little bitty one, that one's kind of getting rotten. That one's got roots right there. See those roots down there? So we got one that's viable in there. So far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got over 10 that are viable right now. This last one, real thick one here. Yeah, we got just about a quarter of an inch of some roots there. There are 3 or 4 of them growing out. This one has none. It looks a little rotten in the bottom there. This one the same. And this little itty bitty one I didn't think was going to do anything either. All right, so one left on that one. So I could combine these two here. I have less jars on the table. And now we're left with the final two. So these two were under the more heavy-duty grow lights in the greenhouse area of the plant room. And this one right here just looks like a little mini forest. Look at how thick that is. This guy right here might be doing really well. Let's take the bigger jar first though. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up carefully on this one. Oh yeah, look at that. So that's the longest growth so far. That's an inch plus on that growth. Get that back in the water. This one up in front is a real skinny one. It's got just 2 little bitty bits of roots growing on that one. Get him back in the water. And then this one over here, I'm assuming will have some roots as well, but no, there's none on this one. This one's looking thin and not so great. We'll just take it out. So we have 2 left in that one. Probably the strongest roots so far. And then this guy right here. This one was fun because when I looked at the side of this one, this is what got me excited. So if you can see the white roots dangling there, we know that that one has roots right there. So I don't even really have to take it out of the jar. Look at that. All those white things there are roots. So fantastic. So it looks like the red, blue, white, more closer lights to the jars, more powerful light, these are doing better. There's even itty bitty little new growth right there. That could be new leaves since I pruned this and put it in the water. So we have 2, 4, 6, 7 jars left in our experiment. These 2 were under the more powerful lights. Maybe we should put all of them under the more powerful lights. It's time to make some more room. Roots! I was pretty excited. Another 4 weeks later, as I was looking in my plant room the last couple of weeks, I'd be looking and taking a sneak peek of these roots through the glass with the lights on and saying, you know what, I should just put these in soil. So another month after the last section, 2 months after the cuttings were put in water, I said, let's put them in some pots. So that's what I did. So I got some pots, got the soil, got the cuttings, started to go to town. Here we go, let's put them in some pots. It is time to put the Portulacaria Afras into a pot. The cuttings are from about 2 months ago, and now there's enough root structure that I'm going to go ahead. So if you take a cutting from a Portulacaria Afra and just let it dry up and callus up for a week or 2, then you can put it right in the soil and you'll probably get some roots. I also believe if you just cut them off of your tree and put them into the soil and then don't water them for a couple of weeks, just leave them in the soil, and you can maybe mist them after a couple of days, week, but don't water them, you'll also get roots. So our experiment was water, because in the Minnesota Bonsai Society's Portulacaria study group, my friend Nick Ellers said, hey, you can just put them in water.
You root them in water, like my mom used to do in the windowsill with certain plants. So we're going to lift these up and see what we got. Okay, there's one jar. And we've got nice little roots there, about a ½ inch. Here we have 2 itty bitty roots. Maybe get better out of my shirt. Nah, it's too far away. Hard for you guys to see 2 itty bitty roots. This one as well, 3 roots that are just barely popping in there. So we'll put that in the soil and we won't water this for a couple of weeks. They're coming right from water, so they'll be wet. This one's got little baby shoots on it. Look at that. There's a full inch of roots. A full inch of roots on those. Okay, so those are pretty good. There's jar number 2. This one looks really nice and healthy. But look, just a little bit of roots. Itty bitty, just a little itty bitty roots on this one. But there's roots. How about these 2 guys? There we go. There's some roots. Jar number 3. Jar number 4, this one's got some new shoots on it. Oh, look at that. There's an inch of roots. Look at that, an inch plus. How about that for roots, huh? All right, we'll put those in there. Jar number 4. Jar number 5 has some itty bitty baby roots, shoots going on here. Some roots that are trying to form. That one has some definitely long roots. So there's something on all of these plants so far, some more than others. This one really looks bushy. This looks like a little bit of a forest that's overgrown, and look at that. Look at that roots, huh? 2 inches on that one. You can see that with the main camera as well as the close-up, huh? An inch or 2 on those. And look at this. Another one. There we go, 2 inch plus. 2 inch plus on the roots on that one. Real thick roots on that one. And they're actually fairly radial. They're going around. This one has 2 itty bitty roots. So there's potential. So I got some pots here. These are my little plastic ones that I've acquired somewhere along the line. And I figured I could put some ports in here. I've got a nursery, nice tall nursery green one that I'm going to put about 4 or 5 or 6 in. And then I've got this green pot here that I can put maybe 3 in. Because once they're going to get rooted, they're going to take a long time for them to fill this pot up. So I'll get 3 of them in there as well. So I got a whole bunch with a lot of roots. I'm going to lay those out so I know which ones have a lot of roots and which ones that don't. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a lot of roots. 7, 8, 9 plants with a lot of roots. But even this one and this one has some roots in it. And the other ones just aren't as prominent. All right. So again, now we're going to put them in these pots, and we're not going to water them for about 2 weeks. So we're going to go ahead and get some bonsai soil in all of these. And we're going to bury some trees. So let's get this going. We got a small one right here. Usually it'll stay right up with some soil. Get that one down in there. That's 2. There's a 3rd one. And then let's put this guy in the back here for number 4. Now the one advantage of giving it a little water is it does hold the tree in place. Settles the soil a little bit. But these are such lightweight trees. We're indoors in the plant room. I don't think we have to worry about this getting knocked over. We just had Jonas Dupuis, a very well respected bonsai artist who does a lot of propagating. And the Minnesota Bonsai Society hosted Jonas Dupuis just the other day, yesterday actually, for our first of the month meeting, and he talked a lot about propagating plants. And one of the things that Jonas Dupuis shared is that one of the biggest mistakes everybody makes is when they put a tree, a cutting, into some soil, they put them straight up. We don't want them to be straight up. So they're all at a slight angle. They're all at a slight angle, so that's looking good. There's pot number 1. Don't think I'm going to need any scissors. I don't know if I'll trim any of these or not. All right. So I got some tall ones. I've got some short ones. Let's do the next batch of short ones together in the next small pot. These have bigger roots on them. Look at all that lovely roots. Super nice. Look at the nice little curve in the trunk there too. So we're going to plant that at an angle. Try to spread out the roots a little bit. So I have a little bit of a radial pattern. And if it leans, I don't care. As I said, Jonas Dupuis says, plant them at an angle. Let them start to grow up to the sun and get some of that early curvature of the trunk trying to form from the get-go. I can spread the trunk, the roots out a little bit. There we go. We have 5 more pots of Portulacaria Afras. They were cut a little over 2 months ago in a pretty hard prune. They've been sitting in water for 2 months. Most of them had roots. Over half of them had a 1/2 inch or more. A couple of them had 2 inches of roots. They're in 5 different pots, 4 to a pot, 3 in this one. And I'm going to put them back under the lights. We're going to let them be dry and just get their new home, kind of get established, and we'll mist them and we'll give them their first water in between a week and 2 weeks here. Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on them. So there you have it, 5 new plantings.
So there you have it. We have cuttings in soil now after 2 months of getting some roots. All right, we got 5 pots. I hope they're going to do really, really wonderful things. I'm going to probably donate a couple of those cuttings to some Minnesota Bonsai Society members, those who might want them. And so we'll do that later on when we can start meeting in person again with COVID slowing down. Hopefully we can meet in person and I'll be able to bring some trees to our meetings, which usually happen in the first part of the month. So hopefully that happens. So keep in mind, it looks like you can get some cuttings to be successful with the PA, both when you just stick them into a pot of bonsai soil. If you let them callus over for a little while, then put them into a bonsai pot. And the experiment I just ran was putting them in water for a couple of months. Now some of them kind of rotted out and got kind of icky, but I got roots on about 70% of the cuttings. And now we've got 5 pots with 3 to 4 cuttings in each one. We could have forests, we could have a whole bunch of individuals. It'll be fun to see how they grow here down in the plant room before we can get them outside in the spring and summer for the big grow, right? Well, that is going to do it for another episode of Dave's Bonsai. Put a comment down below. I'd love to hear the comments, questions, even concerns. Yeah, we'll address it together. Absolutely. So subscribe, tell your friends about me. Dave's Bonsai right here. You take care of yourself, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Dave's Bonsai.